back to the BDGE Dynasty Fantasy Football channel. Huge day in the history of the company, but huge night incoming. Massive watch party happening for the first round of the NFL draft. If you're watching this 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, I'm not sure. Make sure you're subscribed and you got the notification bell on because that'll let you know when we go live. We will be hosting the watch party right here, live from the stew. Me, Adam, Andrew, the dudes from the BDGE office will be cycling through as many men in here as possible.
I mean, we can't even pause that. That was just...
I was trying to set you up for success. We're
going to cycle them.
It's going to be a good-ass time. We're going to be doing giveaways. We're going to be spinning a wheel. There's a lot of silly shit that we're going to have to do within the wheel.
He's shaving his beard.
You're shaving your head.
Yeah, eyelashes are coming out.
Your eyebrows. It's family, baby. It's going to be a good-ass time, so make sure that you join us for the first round. Tonight, we'll be breaking down everything that happens that is relevant to fantasy football, and then every morning after the rounds from the night before go live, we will be doing full recaps, which we will be putting up onto the channel. So again, make sure you're subscribed. It's going to be fun as hell. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is simply our first round mocks, but only including fantasy relevant players. So the quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. And in the pre-show, because the draft starts tonight, we'll be going live about an hour before the draft kicks off, and we will be exposing the rest of our first-round mock drafts, going through, the tackles and the cornerbacks and all those guys that you guys probably don't really care about, but we care about. So we're going to talk about some of the dudes we care about today. We're just going to kind of talk through our boards, and I'll just start off by saying this. I think this will be, for fantasy, like the most fun top 10 NFL draft in maybe in my existence of being an NFL fan. Like, this is just jam-packed with skill players. I will say I was a little bit disappointed by the time I got to, like, the end of the first round. Like, mid-first round, I'm like, all right, we're probably out of, like, the skill player zone here, except for, like, one or two more guys. Yeah. I thought it was going to be a little more girthy, a little more depth-worthy.
We blow our load really early.
Oh. Yeah.
Like, that's what we do today.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like, we all had Caleb as our one. We all have Jaden Daniels going to Washington as our two.
We all think Caleb's going number one.
Simple.
Yeah.
I mean,
except for Colin Cowherd, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think.
Maybe your Vikings have a chance to trade up and get him, Caleb.
Yeah, maybe they do. I told Nick earlier, if we could trade 17 years of first-round picks to go get Caleb, I'd probably do it.
Would you trade Justin Jefferson for Caleb? Is he not worth 17 first-round picks?
No, he's worth 18.
Okay.
Wow.
Enough. So we all have the same first three picks. Caleb, Jaden Daniels to Washington, Drake May to New England.
Yeah, I was struggling with this for a while because I wanted to do what my heart wants, and my heart wants Drake May to be a Minnesota Viking. I've said it for many weeks now. I have had a tweet go out every day with Drake May in purple and yellow. I want that to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
The amount of smoke screens, I don't think. I think to get into those top three, like, the thing is with those top three teams, they all need a quarterback so bad, and, like, you're not guaranteed a top three pick in a class with, like, top three worthy quarterbacks every year. So now's your chance to really go after them. So to move back again, it has to be like a legendary haul.
The only way I think it could happen, though, is like New England, while they do need a quarterback, they need damn near everything. So if you gave them enough of a haul, like here's 11, here's 23, and you're going to have to probably offer them something more, maybe, because they're like, listen, we're not a quarterback away.
Yeah.
But the other on the other side of that is,
but you really don't know if they believe that, though.
Well, the thing is that I think it really comes down to, do they believe Drake May is the guy that's going to reset their franchise? If they do, it doesn't matter what you offer them.
Or are they waiting to see what Washington does? Maybe they feel like they want Jaden and they want to see what happens there.
Let me ask you guys this: do you think there's any chance that McCarthy ends up in the top three, or do you think these three guys are solidified?
Is there a chance? For sure, I think there is a chance.
All the negative press coming out about Jaden Daniels right now feels like the ultimate, like, everyone wants Jaden Daniels, therefore let's, like, start, like, the Giants maybe want in, the Patriots maybe even want, like, it feels like the fact that it's so negative is pointing towards him being number two.
Remember a few years ago when the same thing happened with Justin Fields and he slid down the draft board? Yeah. It feels like that's Jaden Daniels.
The only thing about Jaden, I haven't right now, today, like, there was with Justin Fields, I don't know if you guys remember this, was epilepsy.
Justin Fields?
Yes.
It was epilepsy?
Epilepsy.
People were worried about it?
I'm telling you, like, go back, check the receipts. There has not been anything concrete. Like, I've seen these stupid rumors on X on Jaden Daniels, on Malik Neighbors, but there's nothing concrete. Like there's no.
That's what I mean. That kind of shit just makes me feel like it's a team behind them that wants that guy, and they're just saying shit.
Like if the guys that have slid, there was epilepsy with the face bomb with freaking what's his name, Tunsil, right?
Yeah.
There's been something concrete that makes a slide. Right now, there's nothing concrete at all.
Nah.
Wasn't Traylon's asthma. Traylon had asthma, and
he also struggled at the combine.
I mean, he probably did have asthma though.
No, he did.
The guy couldn't stay on the practice field.
But everyody was worried about the asthma
for good reason, though.
So. Yeah. But
they should have been worried about other things too. Apparently,
I think at the end of the day, all of these prospects, there's always one that has that negative press run right before the draft, and it seems like it's Jaden Daniels this year.
The only thing is that
there's even an ASU thing happening right now with Jaden Daniels' name in it.
But I can't remember the last time we've talked about a mock where there's 4 quarterbacks that could go in the first 4 picks. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, you got JJ at 4. That's where you got your first trade.
I basically did this to appease Andrew, but I actually do think that it's the most logical trade down for Arizona. I had Arizona going up to 4, trading 11 and 23 to get it done. So
okay.
And JJ McCarthy's their selection at 4. That's what I have.
At 4, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. I have that wide receiver prospect sitting there, staring them in the face. I know there was a point in the last couple games of the year where there was like a meme going around of Monty Ossenfort. He's the GM of the Cardinals right now, right? I think he was like looking at his phone. He was talking at the end of the game, whatever. They were saying like they blew the chance to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think they did. The quarterbacks have basically worked their way all the way up. Marvin Harrison, he looks like he's going to be the guy for Arizona, and I think they won't pass up on drafting him if he's there.
Yeah. So
interesting.
I think like with Marv, they've taken a really hard stance, and they talked about it. They did it last year too, where they won't think about trades. Like they're not going to pull a trigger on any trade until they're actually on the clock, which I think is like desperate hour for teams, right? And that might make sense why like the Vikings would be a team that would trade up, or especially where this is where they would trade up for
back to back to back, and then it's just like now it's JJ or bust.
It's got to be our guy. Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's enough teams here that need quarterback, and if it happens this way, where it's Caleb, it's Jaden Daniels, it's May, is J.J. McCarthy the Vikings guy? Is J.J. McCarthy the Broncos guy? Does Peyton still want to move up? Like, I think once that's the case, Arizona, I think, will be taking a lot of calls at this time. I don't know if they'll end up making the trade, but I think they're going to be taking a ton of calls.
It's going to take one team that gets real desperate and just says, fuck it, like, here's 3 firsts and a second.
Now, because here's my thing, right? If you are Arizona and you sit there and take Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't think anyone's going to debate that he is
worthy.
He is not worthy. Worthy is Xavier Worthy. Nick has him out of the first round, but no, I think he's
spoiler.
He is one of the best prospects we've seen. But there's also other receiver prospects. So if someone's offering 11, in my mock, I have them getting Rome down at 11, and
that feels risky. Like to me, Marv is like a can't miss pick.
Sure,
and it's like we're rebuilding our team. We're like we should be a good team by next year with Kyler back and everything. Let's just hit on this pick and kind of move forward, and that's where I'm looking at. But I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up,
dude. That would give
getting a crazy haul.
That would give Arizona, for the record, that would put them with 11, 23, and 27.
Yeah,
they already have another first in this class.
Yeah, my thing is like when you're in the top 5, you're usually getting, for the most part, a can't miss pro. There are not a lot of top 5 guys, non QBs that miss. A lot of the times that you're like grabbing those guys, they're blue chip prospects. Davis. But it's like 17 guys just came to my mind as soon as I said that shit. But
if they get desperate, they could. But everything that I've heard is that if it's not to go up into the top 3, Minnesota's not moving that 23. It's going to be the 25 first that'll be included. Everything that I've heard.
Okay,
man, I feel like you're setting yourself up with a lot of like hard, fast things that could totally get broken on draft day.
I mean, everything that we are talking about could totally be broken on draft day. Everything we're saying.
Yeah, this is a mock that I have no sources for the record. I'm not Nikki Leaks.
Nikki Leaks over here.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my shit's about to be perfect.
Well,
I know. That's why I'm let you all talk.
Number 5, we got the Chargers.
I got Joe Alt. I'm curious. Now here's the thing. I think where mine's gonna go versus you, Marvin Harrison Jr. to Arizona, I feel like is what we all want. Like as the Dynasty community, we would love to see that, right? It locks him into conversations at 101, depending on what you need at quarterback, right? That's goated with Kyler. But if he slips past Arizona, all of a sudden where Marv goes, where Neighbors goes, where Rome goes could play a little bit different of a factor. But I have the Chargers actually taking all. I think that the way they're building, while we want to see a receiver go there, I think they're building with a run-heavy approach. And Joe Alt is really, really good.
I just feel like they've already, like, their receiver group relative to their line group. Like on paper, what you're saying makes sense. But they've also, over the last half decade, used like 2, if not 3 first-round picks on linemen, and I feel like they have like a pretty good core there, whereas like their wide receiver room is one of the worst in the entire league. I can't imagine they give Herbert nothing. And I get it, they're going to go run first, but like they still have to have
Joe Alt is at
there
least,
for him to work with.
It's not a weapon, but giving him Joe Alt is giving him a nice
for sure
bit of time.
Yeah, I wouldn't like really argue against it. I would just be surprised. That feels like so intense to go down.
The only reason I say that is I think that there's enough receivers in this class with what they want to do. They could take one in round 2.
True that, because they have that early second-round pick.
Correct.
This feels like, do you remember a few years back when it was the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Penny Sewell meme, where it was like if they drafted Penny Sewell, then he would complete. This feels like that right now.
A little bit. But since his O-line was horrendous at the time. They were terrible.
And, the way that Cincy's playing with Zach Taylor and the way that the Chargers are about to be playing with Greg Roman
But also think about that. Like if the Bengals had gone with Penny Sewell and they had nobody to fucking throw the ball to, their offense would be stagnant as shit. Chase opened that offense up to a whole nother degree.
And T didn't just request a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I got Malik at 5. I'm just kind of enamored with him as a talent. You got Joe Alt. You got
I have JJ McCarthy going number 5, and this is because
where the trade up
Minnesota trades up. I had them giving up 11, the 2023 or the 2025 first-round pick, and a 2025 fifth-round pick just thrown in there as well.
So they keep 11?
23.
Okay, so they keep 23 here.
Yeah, they give up next year's first, this year's first at 11, and then a future fifth. So they move up. They get that. I have them go get J.J. McCarthy. So Harbaugh ends up being the reason why his boy, J.J., gets picked in the top 5. That's kind of the thing here. But also Minnesota goes and gets their guy, and it doesn't cost them that extra 23. Maybe that's hopeful thinking from a Vikings fan.
Feels a little hopeful, yeah.
But
it feels like Andrew drew up this mock for sure.
It does sound like, at least beat writers in Minnesota and everything that I follow, they are saying that if it's not going up to get May, it's not going to be the 23rd pick overall. That's something that they wanted to keep. So we'll see what happens there. But I have them going to get J.J. McCarthy, future Vikings quarterback. All
right, so you got McCarthy at 4. You got him at 5. Now, I don't have a skill player at 6, so we'll skip over the Giants. I had McCarthy going 7, and this is my first trade where the Titans – they kind of feel like the team that doesn't need to be in the top 10 right now. Like Joe Alt feels like a luxury pick if he's there for them, but this tackle class is so fucking good that if they're at 7 and Minnesota's like, we'll swap 11 with you and give you that 23 also, or next year first, whatever the case may be, I had them swapping the 23 and the 11 for the 7. That makes a ton of sense for Tennessee, right? For me, because they could still get a tackle later on. They could still get whatever they want later on.
You got Minnesota still at 23 right there.
Do I?
Yeah. You got Minnesota taking Cooper DeJean at 23.
I think that was supposed to be Tennessee. I think I maybe just forgot to put it into the trade market or whatever, but doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went J.J. McCarthy at 7. I had the Titans trading back out of there. So
we all have, though, the Vikings coming up to get McCarthy.
Yep.
Different spots. You have Joe Alt going to the Giants. I have the Giants taking Marv. And what do you have the Giants doing? You got them getting Malik Neighbors. Okay.
Yeah. So I have them go wide receivers as well. Mm-hmm. It's just – you look at that receiving core, and we talked about the Chargers receiving core. I think you could say even New York's might be worse. Honestly, you probably prefer Quentin Johnson and Josh Palmer to whatever they have in New York right now. So.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of the same conversation that we just had with the Chargers, Giants, and I wanted to keep a skill player, but we'll talk about Joe Alt because he's just kind of in the mix of every skill player there. I had the Giants taking Joe Alt at 6. So I'm looking at like the Chargers at least have good players on that O-line, right? The Giants, like Andrew Thomas is not abysmal, but like they've missed on some big time players. Joe Alt, like they're just as bad on the O-line as they are at the wide receiver.
Their O-line's horrendous.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, would you be surprised if they ended up taking Joe Alt?
No. I would, only because of this. Like, if they don't get a quarterback and they don't get a receiver, Joe Alt is definitely like a incredible prospect as far as the tackle goes. But it'd be just crazy to see them have dimes with no weapons again, and just be like, just give him extra time is going to be better.
Yeah.
At this point, though, it wouldn't shock me 100%. I would be a little surprised.
You just never know how the GMs in their mind, they probably think they're like incredible drafters, and they might be like, oh, we have like the best second round right? Like we know how to draft second and third round wide receivers.
They definitely could do that, given that they have another early second. And Joe Alt is probably I personally believe Joe Alt is the best tackle by a good little bit.
I do too.
So this was when I was saying like PFF's annoying as fuck because we can go back and like make changes after you did the draft.
Yes.
This is the one where I was like, if I were able to swap one pick, I would put Malik going to the Giants, or I would put Joe Alt going to the Chargers, and then Malik going to the Giants.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Malik Neighbors, I have him at 6, and then I have Joe Alt 7 to Tennessee. So it's pretty much the same kind of idea.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. All right.
I think Tennessee, with bringing over, like, with Ridley and that big contract, I feel like if it's not Alt, like, I feel like Fashanu I feel like they need to give Will some time. That offensive line needs help, too. So I think they're going to be – I'd be kind of surprised if they don't go with a tackle at that spot, or they don't try to trade back, because I think you made a good point. They definitely aren't a great team, but they could make
Tennessee. They might as well get a few picks and like just go from like an okay team to a good team.
Correct.
With like two big
try to get more shots at the dartboard.
Yeah. So I think the next skill players we have, we all have kind of like a tier of probably Rome and Brock Bowers going in one spot or another.
Yeah.
And you got Malik dropping all the way to 9.
Yeah, so I got Malik going 9 to the Bears.
Okay.
Then I got 9, 10, 11. We got Malik at 9 to the Bears, Brock 10 to the Jets, Rome 11 to the Cardinals. I don't think they're going to fall.
That would be fucking sexy if Arizona was able to trade back and still grab Rome.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, kind of going in that same that same tier. I have Rome Odunze going number 9 to the Chargers.
Yep.
And this was a trade back. They traded back with Minnesota to get 11. I had them come back up to get Rome Odunze. They just went up 2 spots. They traded with Chicago. I ended up having going with Byron Murphy. They just keep adding to that D-line. But Rome Odunze, he goes to the Chargers there. And then also in that kind of similar tier, I have Bo Nix go 12.
You really got Bo Nix going 12.
Damn. I didn't even have Bo in my first round.
Neither do I.
And I don't love the pick at all. Like, this would be a reach for Bo Nix. But I feel like this is one of those situations where Denver gets left out in the cold and they didn't get the move up. The move up went to Minnesota, and now they have to sit there and choose, they want to go somewhere else and start Zach Wilson this year? Do they want to bring in another first-round quarterback and kind of let this be a competition? I went with the Bo Nix. Bo Nix going to Sean Payton's Broncos.
I hate to be like a foreshadow, but this feels like you are, by your mock, you're screaming you really don't want the Vikings to have this happen to them. Are you projecting that?
Well, I will say right now, if
the Vikings stayed at 11 and
the
took Bo Nix,
Vikings stayed at 11 and they draft Bo Nix, I will lose my goddamn mind on this couch.
Facts.
On stream, so if you want to see that on stream,
Andrew's mock to everybody looking at it doesn't look any different. To me, I see all through this.
Andrew, if that happens, if they stay at 11 and take Bo Nix, you get all the consequences of all the wheels at once.
I'm tortilla slapping the shit out of you.
While you chug at C4 and shave your beard.
I will jump out the window.
Okay.
Well,
deal.
That's
deal.
End of the stream for me.
End of the stream for me, dog.
I'm done.
Well, that just got dark.
All right, yeah, I went super chalky with Chicago staying at 9 and taking Rome to pair with Caleb. Goes with Keenan, DJ Moore. There's been a lot of like Rome and Caleb William media surfacing lately. They're doing a bunch of shit together.
They were taking photos together.
I mean, there's something there. Caleb's probably pushing the narrative a little bit.
Nick, you and I both got Brock going top 10. Andrew, where do you got with Brock?
The Jets.
The Colts.
I haven't fall to 15.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do wonder, like, the recent years, like, just the Kyle Pitts and does that affect the team wanting to go into the top 10? But I feel like it comes down to Rodgers. Like, who does he want?
It also felt like, to me, too, when I looked at it, it was, if he doesn't go at 10 to New York, the next couple teams don't really make sense to go Brock Bowers. It doesn't really feel like any of those are good landing spots for him. So the next one was.
I kind of feel like you could make the yes, but also I don't know. Like if he ended up going to, I mean, for me, I had Tennessee trading back. Like I could see him going to Tennessee. I mean, Denver's not a terrible fit. I could see him going to like the Saints or something.
Right? Who is he like? Oh man, that would be a really bad pick for Brock Bowers to go to. Like I don't think there's a team in that range that like. They're solidified at tight end, and it would just be crazy for them to take Brock Bowers. He's that good of a prospect, in my opinion.
He is, and I just don't. I just can't see him going to any of those teams. And we've also heard a lot of the rumblings lately of Brock Bowers being linked to Indy. Like there have been a lot of rumors about them liking. Chris Ballard if he Brock Bowers in that.
I'm sure a lot of people like
Brock
Bowers, but if they're at 15, he's got to get past the Jets.
Yeah, but we've heard potential rumors of move ups for Indianapolis, which is out of character for them. They don't normally do that, but we've heard them potentially move up. Right. I don't think they're going to have to move up to get Bowers. They could, but I don't think they're going to have to because I have the New York Jets addressing the offensive line.
That's fair. They're either going to go O-line or tight end. I think
that's a bad spot for them. And the last memory we all have is Aaron Rodgers on the ground because
his tight ends didn't get open quick enough and he couldn't get the ball out.
If Garrett Wilson would have got open quicker, we've been okay.
That's my only problem is why I think they're going to go Brock over a tackle is because their receiving group is also atrocious behind Garrett Wilson. Like they brought in Mike Williams, but he's also coming off.
Mike Will made it.
I mean, he's injured. I don't believe that he's going to be prime Mike Williams.
Who's more hurt?
Alan Lazard.
Who's more hurt? Aaron Rodgers or Mike Will right now?
Facts.
Rodgers was just thrown.
Mike Will tore his ACL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
ACL.
I guess we'll call them the same right now.
So Mike Will feels like a little bit more of we hope he's good to go, but I don't feel secure about him.
Keep in mind, there's still a ton of free agent wide receivers available right now.
So we
Tyler
all have
Boyd, a bunch of other guys are still available. They can still get somebody after the draft.
True. We all have Nick and I actually both have Latham going to the Saints. We all have tackle going Saints as we kind of get through this part of the mock here. Next skill players, really, it is a wave here of no skill players going.
So we have okay. Let's talk about the Brian Thomas landing spot because that's the next skill player for all of us.
For sure.
So you had him going to Cincy at 18.
Yep.
I had him going 19 to the Rams, and you had him going 20 to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And what's kind of awesome is you had Adonai Mitchell going to Pittsburgh at 20. I originally had him going 20 to Pittsburgh, and then I moved him down to link up where you had him going 28 to Buffalo as well.
Buffalo.
So
that
gets spicy, yeah.
This is a good spot to talk about.
Adonai feels like a Deontay Johnson placement verbatim.
Well, so I think the Steelers, since Tomlin's come, since 2008, they have not taken a first-round receiver.
Yeah.
And the idea behind this, I think, though, is that later on in drafts they can get a really talented guy, and then you basically see them not ever want to attach really high payments to anybody. They gave Deontay that contract, and then they moved him pretty quickly. They typically move on from these guys. I think actually in a first round, though, if they believe the guy's talented enough, there's a fifth-year option, which basically means that you can keep him for a longer period of time. We've seen them do this with Lev. We've seen them do this with Najee Harris. So I think that
wasn't a first-rounder.
Who?
Bell.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. But what they do with him? They franchise tagged him. They just kept trying to pay him not much.
It's giving him more money, but not the full extension type of money.
That's what I think would be here is the opportunity to give him that fifth-year option and keep him without having to give him a huge bag. But the other thing about this is I go to the clip of, if you guys saw Mike Tomlin talking about a lot of coaches run from coaching. I don't know if you guys saw this. He says, I've run to coaching. And Adonai, to me, is one of the – when you watch the tape, there's moments where he takes plays off, and he's talked about even taking plays off. But he has some of the most dynamic athletic traits in this class outside of the guys really high up. Yeah. And I feel like Tomlin would want to run to get a guy that athletic and coach him up. And they do a great job with their receivers.
The article that came out recently about his blood sugar and him being a problem in the locker room and things like that, that feels like a Pittsburgh receiver. That fits the narrative right there.
Well, okay, so the reason I ended up moving off him at 20 is because they've been so good at finding second and third round wide receivers. You know what I was saying, how the Giants might look that way or whatever? That's actually how I feel like Pittsburgh should operate. They're we're kind of nice with identifying those.
So you have Brian going ahead of Adonai.
Yeah.
I didn't have any receivers, so the next best wide receiver for me was Brian Thomas. He's my clear-cut wide receiver 4 in the class. I think
draft-wise he is for me too.
I think at this point he has almost put himself in his own individual tier as that wide receiver 4. I have him go to Pittsburgh, kind of same idea as what you talked about.
Sure.
There's definitely a need to come in and fill that Deontay Johnson role. They need another guy. I can't imagine that they're going to be going out with Calvin Austin or Van Jefferson or whoever it may be at that number 2. That's just not what they're going to do.
Right.
Brian Thomas is I think he fits that offense so good because he is going to kind of be a field stretcher. He's going to bring an extra element to that offense that not necessarily can be fulfilled by a guy like George Pickens. Also, I think he complements the Pat Freiermuth, some of the other stuff as well.
You don't think there's too much overlap between Pickens and Brian Thomas's game in terms of being a downfield threat?
I think they're downfield. They both are downfield threats for sure.
Like I feel like where Russ is at in his career, he needs someone who's like a better playmaker by the line of scrimmage. And Brian Thomas can move by the line of scrimmage, but
I think that could
that's
help
why
too.
I feel like
I think I think Brian Thomas is more complete than George Pickens as a route runner, and I think he can do more things than
I don't think anyone disagrees
George
with that.
Pickens there. I definitely hear the need for that, but also I could argue that Pat Freiermuth is going to be the one close to the line of scrimmage and kind of work in the middle of the field there. So
I think that also either way you cut it, like people love to hate on Russ, and I mean he's not that good anymore.
How long is it Russ?
But we don't know. But I do think Russ is still a guy that throws a pretty good, like, deep contested catch ball, and there's nothing wrong with that.
This almost feels like what we saw out of Cortland Sutton last year, where Cortland Sutton was pretty good for our fantasy football teams. This is like Cortland Sutton plus.
Well, yeah. I mean, dude, Brian Thomas can take off too.
Yeah,
I think either one of these guys would make sense. I have Brian Thomas going 18. I think that if he was there, I could definitely see the Steelers saying this is a talent we can't pass up. The fact that you almost put a first round receiver to the Steelers, we would have all three had it like that. Now I'm like, oh man, are we gonna? Maybe the Steelers don't even. They're just gonna take a tackle.
Yeah. The need is just so massive. But I understand.
But they also really need O-line.
I understand that you also have a deep receiver class, and maybe this is a team that just gets a Ricky Pearsall later in and says, let's just go with it.
Yeah, because I have right now. Look, see, I have a bunch of tackles come off the board. I think that if Mims or somebody else like in that mold is there for Pittsburgh, they can't pass on them. Their offensive line is in shambles, but I think that they will take a receiver if all those really good talented tackles in this class go earlier, which typically you see teams in the teens like not let tackles fall.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like tackles are such a premium position that the fact that there's this many guys this late into the first round is like it's kind of fascinating.
Well, so you have Brian go to Cincinnati. So talk a little bit about
the
fit there in Cincy.
I think that this is a team that is not going to be able to get a deal done with T. Higgins. This is them basically.
That report that just surfaced that he is that new though. Like
it's
new that he requested a trade. Apparently, I think it's not really that new, but. This is apparently the first time he's actually like formally requested a trade.
I would say, dude. I mean, we've had a decent amount of like draft day trades of high end receivers in recent years.
Traded right after they make that pick.
No, I think this pick, whether it's beforehand or after, they're signaling like, all right, T, we're not getting a deal done with T. We bring in Brian Thomas because we need someone else that's not Jamar Chase to really help Joe Burrow. And I think that the way that they attack the ball offensively, they just LSU everywhere.
It lines up.
It's that A.J. Brown being traded and then immediately add Treylon Burks. It's the same thing. Hopefully that Brian Thomas is not Treylon Burks, but
they already have the pick. Like A.J. Brown.
He also feels like
you move the guy and then you replace the guy immediately.
Sure. Yeah. He feels like a good replacement, or he feels like a good opposite side for Jamar Chase.
He could do anything that T. Higgins has been doing.
Yeah. I took Brian Thomas to the Rams. I just feel like McVay and Stafford are like, we got 1 year, 2 years left. Like, instead of trying to fix all the holes, let's just double down on our strengths and let's just try to make an offense that like the NFL has never seen before.
We don't know how much your back has, but we are going to find
out. That's what I'm saying. Well,
man.
Think about, when McVay came in the league, right, and he was running that 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver set that just couldn't be stopped. Like, no defense could figure out how to do it. They always had some random speedster that they tried to put in place, right? They had like Brandon Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, right? And then they had to have a field stretcher, and it was Brandon Cooks. And they always tried to put one speed guy, Deshaun Jackson, whatever the fucking case may be. This feels like Brian Thomas could be that dude. Think about that receiving trio. Well, they would throw the ball 50 times a game.
You put Brian Thomas is definitely running out there at the X, and you got both Puka and Cooper Kupp you can put in the slot. It would be pretty nasty.
I'm saying like Aaron Donald's is gone, right? And you could say like, let's try to replace the interior line and like have a guy develop. It's like, where does that really get you by next year? And it's like, let's just fucking go all in on what we're good at right now.
It's not like it's a major point, but also keep in mind that Tyler Higbee is probably not going to be healthy for a majority of the beginning of the season because he had that late ACL tear. So he's a receiving weapon for them right now that is not going to be on the field early on. Maybe they just get another one.
I don't know about all that.
Maybe they get Brock Bowers.
That would be a little cool landing spot, actually.
Brock Bowers going to the Rams would be chaos.
This fucking first round is going to be madness.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
Okay.
I think then we have pretty clearly next little drop off.
I have one more trade. Yeah, I have one more trade up here.
Do you? Okay, what do you got here?
Trade up.
So I had Vegas coming into the first round coming back into the first round to get Penix there at the end of the first.
So you guys each have 5 quarterbacks going in round 1. 5. I've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 done. Okay.
And then, then I took Adonai going to Buffalo. I think that's a great fit. Buffalo is so fucking in need of playmakers right now.
I think that would be such a good. That would be close to best case scenario for Buffalo. Like, I don't think there's any way Brian Thomas falls that far.
No.
So that would be really, I think, a good thing for.
This
Buffalo.
is best case scenario for Buffalo. Best case scenario for Josh Allen. Best case scenario for Adonai Mitchell. Like, this is the.
Yeah, it's the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's everything we want. Now you have
Andrew. You really did that too.
Keon.
Yeah.
Go to Buffalo in the first round.
That would be kind of tragic.
Talk about it.
Keon, I think, as a big slot, if you use him the right way, I think could actually be really, really dynamic. I don't know that Buffalo can simply in this draft replace. Say what you want about Gabe Davis, but you're losing Gabe Davis and Diggs.
That's their whole offense.
Yeah, like I don't think that you can just replace that with one pick here in the first round. I think Keon is. Someone that they can put into the slot, and they're going to have to address the receiver position more. But
again, later in the same draft. Now, in my video today where we talked about the landing spots for wide receivers, Diggs and Gabe Davis, plus they had like Trent Sherfield and some other guys who left the team, they lost 52% of their receiving targets.
That's honestly lower than I imagined. I thought it would be bigger.
That's more than half of your passing offense that has walked out the... Like, there is going to be such a huge.
Who's 40? I'm trying to think who are the 48 though.
Yeah,
I guess Cook probably.
Kincaid, Cook, and Knox.
Kincaid had 93 targets.
Shakir Kincaid had 90. Okay, yeah.
It's also
quietly. I did not realize he had that many.
Whoever the case remains, like whoever gets drafted there is probably walking into like an 85 target floor as a rookie.
Now, the one thing about that is the one thing about the Keon pick is I think he would fit really well as a big slot with that. With Josh Allen, a guy that can go up and get it, but they might have more plans to use Kincaid kind of as a big slot versus a real tight end. That's what I don't know yet.
I'm more so. I don't know the answer. How much does Curtis Samuel play in the slot?
I mean, typically he's played a lot in the slot, but you could put him outside.
I forgot Kurt.
Curtis Samuel's over there. Yeah,
Curdy.
He's sneaky. Honestly, I think
he's a sneaky goat.
I think he's
about to be the sneaky goat this year. He's about to be a sneaky link goat.
Once was a top 24 receiver.
Fucking damn near last year. Motherfucker popped off for me in like 3 leagues. I remember I kept starting him. I kept being like Kurt or Jahan Dotson, and I would just be like, Kurt's better, and I kept starting him.
How did you luck into keep starting Curtis Samuel on
Adonai or Keon, or it could just be Curtis Samuel.
I mean,
why draft a receiver when you got Curry?
They're about to run that sheesh.
To be honest.
All right, so
we also have Xavier Worthy.
You guys are both fucking idiots and took Worthy. It's just not gonna happen. The Chiefs just don't take. They're not going to go with the wide receiver at the end. They have other problems that they need. They're going to go with the tackle. They're just not a team that would take Xavier Worthy.
What are their other problems besides receiver?
Tackle.
Okay. Let me rephrase. It felt like with what Mahomes did with what he didn't have, that they need receiver in a big way. It feels
like every year they need that. But then they went out. Rashi Rice hit, and then they signed Hollywood Brown. I just don't think they're going to use their first rounder. I think they'll address receiver. It ain't going to be his fucking ass, and it ain't going to be in the first round.
You hate Worthy more than you hate the selection of receiver.
No, I would have disagreed with any receiver that went there.
Did he not?
Interesting. What'd you say?
He said Rashi hit, and then he hit 6 other cars. So
he's going to be out for 2 games. Teams don't draft based on a 2-game suspension.
You know what?
Yeah, don't talk about...
Tyreek Hill didn't even get suspended, and they drafted the Tyreek Hill replacement.
Because the reports around Tyreek Hill were like, it was unknown. What he did, they could have been out for like a year. We didn't actually know at the time. And also, we have no real, like, they drafted Mecole because Tyreek Hill was out kind of thing. Maybe they just like
If you think this is a bad pick, I won't put it past them because they have made some alarmingly surprising picks of late. They're
about to cut Sky Moore, and they spent premium capital on Sky Moore.
So that should teach them not to do that again.
We didn't
just draft tackles.
You know what we didn't do? We didn't draft early enough with Sky Moore. We got to go get him in round 1.
Enough.
Yeah, we missed out
Andy
on the good
Reid,
players,
baby.
so we need to go get. Where does Xavier Worthy sit in your rankings right now? I know we just finished them up.
I think overall 13 in Superflex.
Wide receiver, like
7, I believe.
I think I have him 7 to 8, something right now.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I'm so far down. I think
like wide receiver 59.
It is. You are against.
He's below
the
Curtis
here.
Samuel. I've been that way since the fucking Rippy.
It's been that way, but I don't think this is. I mean, I made the damn pick, but I don't think it's a bad pick. I think this makes sense for.
Right. It just makes too much sense that it's 100% not going to happen.
Nick wants no. What's going to be great is after all kinds of chaos we have the draft, and then they lock in Xavier Worthy to just
What happens when they
put it all in stone?
When they trade to get Xavier?
You could have put like Keon Coleman there. You could have put anyone there, and I would have disagreed with you putting him there.
Why would I put Keon Coleman? He's like
not you. I just mean in general.
No, I'm just kidding.
You fuck.
You know what? I just realized none of us have is Ladd in the first round. Damn.
He's not first round caliber. To be honest,
early second.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
He's gonna go between 33 and like 42.
Day two, the first 15 picks,
Carolina Panther.
like 75% of them are gonna be wide receivers. The first 10 picks.
Well, damn.
How many receivers you guys got going? Actually, I think I have 7.
Not as many.
Worthy.
I think I went 5.
Keon, Brian Thomas, Adnan.
6.
Yeah, I've got 7.
I have
5, 6, 7. 5 QBs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end, no running backs. I hope I'm wrong because I want it to be more fantasy skilled players, but I'm just so accurate with it. I just know that's not what's gonna happen.
Know the future.
Nick really just tried to kill us to get out of this draft. Like
the Chiefs,
nothing fun happened other than Penix trading up.
I'd be hitting. That's what I'd be doing.
And he gives Mitchell a sexy landing spot. There's a lot of bias in this one.
This is what's going to happen.
We thought I was biased for the Minnesota stuff.
We're not even. Yours is in a different stratosphere of bias.
You shut your mouth over
You know exactly what you did with yours.
I didn't have them go up to get May. I held myself back.
Now, hold on.
I held myself back.
One thing's for sure. This is now the 3rd year we don't have a first-round pick. There is no fucking bias coming from me. The Browns have no first-round pick and no quarterback. It's all bad.
They trade Deshaun Watson for the 101 they draft.
The mistake on the lake is what we are called, and it's not wrong.
Crazy.
All right, so that's every fantasy relevant player that we had mocked going in the first round. Again, we're going to be live tonight, kicking off around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, maybe 7. We can't even figure out what time the fucking draft starts. So about an hour, maybe an hour and a half before. So make sure you join us for the pre-draft stream where we'll be going through every player in our mock drafts, not just the fantasy relevant players, so we could yap a little bit more about that. And then we'll be live for the entirety of the draft, and that's going to be fun as hell. So
come kick
it's going to be a ton of yapping. Andrew's going to be... We're going to need to cycle
come
some
hang
other
out.
dudes
You
in.
guys get to hang out with the guys, so come do it.
Luckily, when Bo Nix goes off at 11, there will be no more Andrew on the
I'll
stream.
be right out that window.
That's actually true.
What street is this right here? Actually, we don't need to say
Not
that
on camera.
It's the street. It's the street where Andrew lies.
That street is where I'll be.
All right.
All right.
Take us away. No, we're better than that.
That's nope.
I almost hit you with a skull chant on the way out, but I won't do it.
After what you did on the last video group we did, come on, give me something here.
We'll see you guys at the live stream. Peace out.
Hi.